hour comes to you every Thursday at 11 o'clock. And here we have Richard Todd, who is a French horn instructor and program director at Frost School of Music and Jazz Artist. Hey, how are you, man?
How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. We're going to have a lot of fun here. And for the people that just tune in, he has performed with Paul McCartney, Afro Smith, Chicago, Madonna, Michael Jackson, McCoy Tyner, Terence Blanchard, and Andre Previn, John Williams, and many others. And he also has dozens of former students enjoying careers as orchestra performers, freelance artists, studio musicians, artistic administrators, and instructors at major institutions such as UCLA and USC. And also, you're going to bring your ensemble in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, my horn studio is going to come in and do a little performing in here. I think it might be one of the first times that an actual classical horn studio or classical instrument studio will come in and perform. But we're going to do a lot of really cool jazz arrangements.
Alrighty, and what's the first tune that we're playing here?
The first track I think we're going to listen to is the very first track from my very first record. The record was entitled New Ideas, and it was a unique record, I think, because it was back in the LP days. And
how old are you?
I'm sorry?
How old are you?
Oh.
Are you a high school student or something like that?
Right. Gunther Schuller produced it. And it was actually his idea to do a record like this. I had given him we had gotten to know each other through my time at Tanglewood in the summertime. And I had become friends with him, and I had taken a few horn lessons with him because he was a great horn player and a pedagogue and just a brilliant human being. And I gave him a cassette tape of some things that I had done, half of which was classical, and the other half was jazz. I had done a few kind of just like duets with my buddy Billy Childs, the great Billy Childs pianist. And he heard it and he said, "Oh, we need to do a record that actually showcases both of this." So the very first tune that we decided to do was Charlie Parker's great tune "Au Privav," and so we did it actually live in Jordan Hall in Boston, which is a wonderful concert space. It's affiliated with the New England Conservatory of Music, and my fellow colleagues on this particular recording is myself and Billy Pierce on tenor saxophone, Edwin Schuller on bass, and Akira Tana on drums.
Alrighty, and that was again the name of the tune.
All Privov.
Oh, that was Burning Man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And of course, you know, I just mentioned before in the program that is Richard has you know, a lot of co-workers. You know, I will say, you know, with Paul McCartney, Aerosmith, Chicago, Madonna. You know, I mean, living in Los Angeles for so many years. You want to talk a little bit, you know, just a little bit about?
I think that I you know, there are just kind of so many like stories and so on and so forth. The way that, you know, the funny part about the freelance business is you never know what you're going to do from one day to the next.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you know, you'll get called for a session. Sometimes you'll know who you're playing for, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you'll know the name of the motion picture you're going to start going in and recording the music for. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you see the music in advance. Most of the time you don't. And so when you walk in, you just kind of never know what you're going to have to do. But I remember. I think the time that I worked with Michael Jackson was on his. I believe it was a History record, and he had used a legendary film composer named Elmer Bernstein, who was famous for. He was famous for the score to the Ten Commandments, To Kill a Mockingbird. Not so famous for a score called Robot Monster, which was his very first. It was his very first film score. Robot Monster was basically just a man in a gorilla suit with a deep sea diver's helmet on. For some reason, some film director thought that would be scary.
Yeah, that came after the Ten Commandments, I guess.
No, it came before the Ten Commandments. Yeah, it did. It did. But Elmer had helped Michael. He had written the orchestral underscore for Michael's Thriller video, which if you see the entire short film, it's about 13 minutes long, and there was a lot of orchestral music in it. So Michael hired Elmer to write music for this history DVD set or CD set. And Elmer asked for me to come in and play on it. And so, Elmer, at one point we had made a take, and Elmer said, hey, come on into the booth. So I went into the booth, and there was Michael just standing there. And so, the three of us had a nice little conversation for a minute or so while we were listening to the playback. And, Michael had some wonderful input on the sound of it, and really very shy, really very shy human being. But one of the things that I always noticed about working in that business was that when you were in the room with the great artists, and it didn't really matter who it was, Elton John, Willie Nelson, Aerosmith, Paul McCartney, you name it, Barbra Streisand, Celine Dion, even the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Manhattan Transfer. When you were actually in the room recording, they treated you like you were in the circle, you were in the club, because you were there and you were playing, and there was a level of respect for who you were as an artist, because you were contributing to their
Exactly,
to their product, and that was a pretty wonderful thing to have happen.
Yeah, many people, you have a certain image, where that the media, have of you, but when you're actually, in the art, I will say, I mean, that person can be completely, they, as you say, they're contributing to their own output, So what is the next thing that we have here?
Well, I think the next piece that we've got is, it's called Richter Scale. And that is a composition of mine that I did. That's a title cut from my Richter Scale record. Mm-hmm. So, and the players on this are Billy Childs again on piano, John Clayton on the bass, and Ralph Penland, the wonderful Ralph Penland on the drums.
Alrighty. right, and here we are with Mr. Richard Todd, a French horn instructor and program director at Frost, and we're having a good time here. And you want to say something about the next piece?
Yeah, I think the next piece that's up, I believe, is called "Discovery Through the Eyes of a Child," and it became very personal to me when I had my own children. But before I had my own children, I was actually at a wedding of somebody that both Billy Childs and I knew. And just about the cutest thing I ever saw was his young son, Aaron, in a tuxedo in shorts. And just kind of because he was involved in the wedding, I guess. And it was just, it just so profoundly hit me in such a way that, like, this wonderful young boy is like in this environment that is like not something he's around every day. And just watching his face as the day went on, and just kind of like, the eyes open and a little bit of a wonder, and yet just kind of like running around and just being a kid. And it just really kind of inspired me to go home, and I actually wrote this tune that very night. And I told Billy about it, and Billy is the one that's playing the piano part of this. It's the same trio. It's Billy and John Clayton and Ralph Penland. And I think you can hear a little extra love, I think, in Billy's intro. I basically gave him free rein to just basically play whatever sort of intro that he wanted to play, and I think what he came up with was really, really profoundly beautiful.
All right. You're listening to the Frost Jazz Hour, and that comes to you WDNA 88.9 and WDNA.org. And we're here with none other than Richard Todd, and we're having a great time here. We're going to go to a little break here, and we'll be right back.
Frost Jazz Hour is a sponsored presentation of the University of Miami's Frost School.
Still game changers. And my lamp can bring...
So here we're back, and Richard's gonna talk a little bit about the next one.
Yeah. The next piece that we're going to go is going to go back to my very first recording, which I did basically live in Jordan Hall. That's why you hear the concert hall kind of like acoustics in it as opposed to a studio. We just mic'd up, we played on the stage, and that was it. And I got really kind of fascinated with one of the songs from A Fiddler on the Roof, Matchmaker, and I thought
that's one of my favorite musicals, man. It was so beautiful.
It's just the story and the music is just great. Jerry Bach just did such a fantastic job with that score. And I decided that I thought that song had some really kind of nice twists and turns in it that maybe we could do something with it that was slightly out of the ordinary. So I kind of came up with this kind of, just kind of a little bit of kind of duality we played with the melody a little bit. And I hope you're going to like this. That was Matchmaker from my New Ideas record, which came out in the 1980s. And I failed to mention before.
Oh, yeah, LP.
Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart. Wonderful. Edwin Schuler, Gunther's son, producer's son on bass, and the great Akita Khan, who now resides in San Francisco, and he was the wonderful drummer for the Heath Brothers for a number of years, as well as just a completely stellar career. So that was a very memorable moment in my time, and this next piece I think that we're going to listen to is also a most memorable, important time in my life because I had the opportunity to play with some real icons and idols of mine. Andre Previn was a friend and a colleague and somebody that I had gotten to know through a couple different classical chamber music festivals. And he had heard my jazz work and I guess had an affinity for it and asked me if I would play on this particular CD of his. The CD's called What Headphones? And the tune we're going to play is I'm Beginning to See the Light. And when I walked into New York, when I flew out to New York to do this record, I walked into an ensemble that consisted of Andre Previn on piano, Mundell Lowe on guitar, Ray Brown on bass, Grady Tate on drums, Warren Vacher on cornet, and Jim Pugh on trombone.
Wow.
And I just felt like I had just walked into Valhalla.
All right, this is WDNA 88.9 and WDNA.org. And we're here with Richard Todd. And stay tuned because we are just 15 minutes away and he still has a lot of beautiful music to play during this time. Alrighty. What can I say? A beautiful arrangement, beautiful playing, the whole thing.
It was quite a day for me to be able to really just kind of sit in the room and kind of absorb there, and just try to do my part to fill in and fit into what was going on around me. It was truly a memorable experience. I had that same memorable experience with Andre when I did he also asked me to do a classical recording of a fantastic sextet by Francis Poulenc for piano and winds, and that piece was also recorded in New York, ironically in the same room that this piece was done. And the producer for both of those records was the great Phil Ramone. And so, just experiences that I would have never imagined in my life that I would have been able to do, including sitting in this room talking to you, Alberto. And it excites me very much to be able to bring in the next generation of players on my instrument and do a performance in here next week. I'm actually going to play two. I'm going to play with them
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks,
yeah.
on March the 7th. We have a wonderful horn quintet arrangement of Stardust that I did. An absolutely beautiful rendition for four horns of the great Manhattan Transfer song "A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square." It's just that particular arrangement is just so beautifully done and so beautifully sung, and we're going to bring that piece justice. And then we'll play a little kind of 10-horn and rhythm section version of "Little Darlin'," and then my studio will then finish up with my arrangement that I did on my With a Twist record in honor of my teacher, Vincent DeRosa, who was the king of Hollywood for the better part of 4 decades.
Wow.
I did an arrangement of The Days of Wine and Roses in his honor. If you've ever seen that movie, it starts off with a French horn solo, and it is unquestionably the sound of Vince DeRosa. So we, as a horn ensemble, we do a spring concert every year. This year it's on March the 19th. We call it Frost Horns and Friends because we have a lot of friends that come join us, different students on different instruments, and we're playing some wonderful music. And I hope all of you can have a chance to kind of either be there in person in Newman Recital Hall, our new recital hall, on March 19th at 7:30, or you could hit the stream and enjoy us that way. And we end our concert every year traditionally with this work, and we always feature horn players going to play the solo of somebody who is graduating from our studio. So with that in mind, we'll finish up with my arrangement of The Days of Wine and Roses from my With a Twist record. I arranged it for 8 or 9 horns, and I'm actually playing all the parts.
Yeah, probably we need some other music in that. It says 3 minutes there, but anyway, I just wanted to say that it's a privilege to have you here on the show. I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, because I heard, I saw the lineup that here and I hear your music and I say, wow, it's just a pro school music. Don't you think that it's a wonderful place to be?
It's a fantastic place
fantastic,
to be.
fantastic. Shelly Berg, Shelly, if you're listening to me, like we say in Spanish, te la comiste, I think you ate it, but you ate it in the good sense, So I hope that more and more wonderful people come every year. So anyway, Days of Wine and Roses, and stay tuned for the Latin Jazz Quarter.
At 88.9 FM, you're tuned to